Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing great out there, and if you guys could subscribe, that'd be great. If you're waking up with a little bit more joy in your heart today, it may be because you're feeling a little bit of that petty pride as the Golden State Warriors get gentlemen swept top hats and monocle style by the Minnesota Timberwolves. Wolves in 5 to eliminate Golden State and send Jimmy Butler to Cancun as their season comes to an end. And Jimmy Butler, everybody around them in Golden State was looking for playoff Jimmy to arrive. And this isn't that guy anymore. He's not that guy anymore. And, you know, we'll get into a judgment here in just a second. But, look, he didn't lie to anybody. You know, I think he maybe gave a little bit of an answer the other day of, can I summon it? You know, I'm going to play the right way. Look, man, I've heard that press conference 900 times about, can I do it? Am I able to do it? Absolutely. He gave you one game of it, and it petered out with about, 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter of Game 3 with a chance to really summon the powers of the universe. And he just couldn't do it. Last night, he finishes with 17 points, 4 of 11 from the field. He did get to the free throw line a bunch, which is always usually a good tell of aggressiveness from Jimmy Butler. But I just don't think at any point in any of these playoffs did you really see that gear. Now, to be fair, Jimmy Butler did land on his back, and he didn't make any excuses for that after the series was over. We've seen him get that injury down here. That is not one that he usually bounces back quick from. He's not a guy that really bounces back from injuries that well anyway. Like he is a guy that likes to get himself 100%. But it is the playoffs, and you can't turn that up, as they saw back in the run where he got his ankle basically broken by Josh Hart. So I think with this coming to an end, he's going to be 36 before this season. He's going to be 37 before the final year of his deal, where he's going to make $60 extra million, which is what he wanted from the Miami Heat, and that was where the Miami Heat were hesitant in giving him his money. Truth serum after Joe Lacob said a couple of weeks ago that he was worth every freaking penny. I am curious to see how that's going to feel going into this offseason and going into the rest of his career, to see how that all goes. Because look, I understand why the Warriors made the move. They wanted to do right by Steph Curry. They wanted to give Steph Curry a fighting chance. That's admirable what they did. It really was. It was admirable to go out there and try and get him the best available help. And by God, it looked like it was working like absolute magic in the start of this whole thing. And I said, from the Miami Heat's perspective, there's really nothing you can say right now, because this is set up to be about the best basketball Jimmy Butler's going to play, with getting half a season off to go make a sprint. He's naturally going to look his best, but he never lied with his stint with the Warriors. And I think that, to me, was the weirdest thing. This never was, I finally get my running mate. I finally get my guy. I finally get the best talent that I've ever played with. It was always, I'm robbing. I'm not, when I walk down the tunnel anymore, best player in the world here to ruin your series. I'm not playoff Jimmy. It's Robin Jimmy. He's sidekick Jimmy. That's what he is. These are good sidekick numbers. But to be the guy who can, lose Goran Dragic and Bam Adebayo and put up a 35-point triple-double to lift his team to victory anymore, and do it with Kelly Olynyk and a second-year Duncan Robinson, I don't know if that guy's in there anymore. And so you come away with this, and you do have to make a judgment on who was right, who was wrong. From a basketball decision, did the Miami Heat make the right call in not paying Jimmy Butler into his late 30s? Yeah, probably. Usually they're like, the one thing that's lost, other than when LeBron left, which they didn't want to happen, that was LeBron leaving on his own terms. So he got them before they got him, which is what's gone on with most of the time with their legends. But most of the time, when the Heat get a little queasy about paying somebody and not tying themselves up, as much as it sucks, and as much as I hate it as a fan, because I'm sentimental. I'm not Pat Riley. I'm not cutthroat. I'm not ruthless with that stuff. They're typically right when it comes to the aging star. Mind you guys, that doesn't mean they're always right with contracts like giving Dion Waiters 4 years or Hassan Whiteside maxed out or Tyler Johnson. I'm talking about aging stars. Have they misappropriated funds for other guys? For sure. And they are not blameless here. And this is not a Miami Heat complete vindication. But to act like it's always already been a judgment of, can Jimmy be the guy on a championship team? For me, this version obviously isn't good enough. Could the guy a couple years ago, could 33-year-old Jimmy Butler? Because it is. This age is quick. At 33 years old, when you're crashing into everybody, is it different from bouncing back even when you're 35? When you're 29 in the bubble against the Lakers, the way you can bounce back. We saw how exhausted he was by the end of that, and that was a finals run. And it just feels like those things, those ankle twists that always take 2 weeks, like those things are going to take its toll on him. Longer and longer and longer. But ultimately, I don't think the Miami Heat are going to be, just from here, I don't think the Miami Heat are ever going to be in a position where they look and say, we regret not giving him that extra year. I think that is pretty clear. Will the Warriors? I don't know, man. Listen, you see their fan base. They got goo-goo eyes for Giannis. Now, I don't know who's going to look at the Jimmy Butler contract and be like, oh, that's savory. Let's go bring in that. Unless it's like I was thinking like a Paul George, Jimmy Butler swap so he could be reunited with Joel Embiid, something like that. And they can get off a year of extra money. Maybe there's something like that, but like a Jimmy for Giannis. I'm not saying never, because Giannis could always force the hand of a star. Like, you can never rule that out, but I would be I would be surprised. I would be surprised, because that's not even like you're getting young talent. You're getting old talent, and the best talent that they have from a young perspective in Kuminga. I don't even know I don't think his contract is there. But it was sweet. Look, it was sweet. I'm not going to sit here. I told everybody, I said, my petty watching, the only teams I would have rooted for Jimmy Butler against were the Knicks and Celtics. That's it. Just because my hatred for them runs deeper than the Jimmy Butler era. So I could never do that. Just by nature of Heat fans. I got into arguments with this with Leroy, with fans, all that. Did the Heat, but like, look, the Heat were right to not give Jimmy Butler that extension. I think that is true. And I was wrong, because I said to pay him. Does that mean the Heat are completely off the hook of blame? Absolutely not. I said that they're to feel good about the idea of not paying him is still a little bit crazy to think that you could like wrangle up a rattlesnake who could like lash out at any time. Like, we hadn't seen it. It was always a cozy tenure. But his reputation precedes himself, and if Jimmy Butler has his mind set on something, he's told us he's petty. He's a petty dude, and he would go to any lengths to make it happen. Whether it's having whether it's twisting your ankle and claiming stomach ache because you're going to basically hold out and not put your body on the line for this team that didn't give you an extension. Whether it's a dog and pony show with Shams and the agent on social media making Mickey Harrison look like a goof. Whether it's, playing dominoes while your team's on a road trip in the locker room, hoping that they lose so it pisses them off even more. Whether it's just dogging it on the court once you got out there and completely coasting and tanking the game. Whether it's looking absolutely miserable when you come back and barely wanted to even look anybody in the eye. All of those moves by Jimmy Butler were complete bullshit, and they're nearly unforgivable. And especially with the fact when the return eventually happened, to basically like not acknowledge anybody who you did play a long time with, and feel like, I don't know if you felt some way like you were in the right or you were justified in it. Like, look, you weren't right. Your ends may have justified the means because you got $60 extra million. And I don't know, some people can be shameless in that to go get what they feel like they need to go get. What is that, like 3 times the amount that he made his first year with the Miami Heat? It's a crazy amount of money in the NBA. And especially if you don't think that the team is championship good. So if you're not going to win the championship, then you might as well get yourself extra secured with riches by the end of it. But yeah, the Miami Heat should have known that this was going to unravel. And to feel like you'd take the word of anybody, even if it was his agent with a smile and saying, oh, no, it's all going to be good. We have respect for the organization. It'll all work out eventually. And basically giving that 2 months before you checked out was a real misstep by the Miami Heat, and one of their bigger ones. And quite frankly, it felt like a torpedo to season, because if they did trade him, would the Miami Heat have gone further? I don't know, but would not. It's not even about just the return. Let's say they get the same return. At least maybe you have a more adjusted Andrew Wiggins. Maybe you have a Davion Mitchell who's blended in a little bit more. Maybe you just have a little bit more comfort in everybody being there. And the way that this all ended, maybe Jaime's in a better place. I don't know if there was anything helping Terry Rozier, but I think from the perspective of, getting it done before all hell broke loose, there's no doubt. And I think, to be honest with you, that the way they handled the end of Jimmy Butler was a little bit synonymous with how they handled just the Jimmy Butler era, where it was like, yeah, we made a move, but it was not, and we did okay, but it was always when we were forced into something. It was the same thing with the Terry Rozier trade, and it was a little bit same with the Kyle Lowry splash. It's like, yeah, we did good, but like you probably could have done a lot better. Like that's what it's always this front office, that's what it's always going to feel like with all of this stuff. It's like, yeah, you did good, but you probably could have done a lot better there. You probably you did all right for the circumstances. Okay. But whether it would be missing out on the next trade piece or the free agent or whoever it was, that always just kind of left you short and left you wondering, like, if you pivoted a little bit quicker, would that have gone better for you? Probably. And yeah, they can't take no blame in the way the season unraveled. I don't blame them for Jimmy Butler's behavior, because what he did to the Miami Heat was wrong. Was he wrong about all elements of the Miami Heat? And was he wrong about Bam and Tyler? I guess, we'll never know with Tyler. Like, he never really got this version of Tyler in a playoff run. It felt like he put on the good face of being ready to rock with it, and then, it was just all for the cameras. Bam, I mean, he's already had playoff success with Bam Adebayo, so I don't know what's really there to prove. But, it's, in the end, I think that both sides had their point. Jimmy on the Heat's roster shortcomings, because they did have their worst season basically without him, no question. The Heat probably right in not paying Jimmy Butler. And they were both probably wrong on when it was time for this relationship to come to an end. And it was a long time. When you get into a 6th season with something, man, that's almost an eternity in the NBA these days. And this was a relationship that already kind of felt fraying at the beginning of last year, especially when they didn't get Damian Lillard. So, I think this is it. Like, I don't know. I'm sure there might be, I wouldn't rule out some, like, more dirt or something like that would end up coming out, just reflecting on all of the year that was Jimmy Butler. There was that whole telling my side of the story, if that'll end up coming out. But, this probably feels like the end of the saga. And I'm sure Riles rested easy last night, pouring some tequila on ice, feeling like, all right, he's not making us look a fool. He ends up being what we probably thought he was going to be, which is a diminished version of himself. Yes, banged up. Yes, No Steph Curry because he's injured. But he is going to be 36. He gets banged up. He plays a physical style. And Steph Curry's going to be, what, 38, 37, 38? This is what you're going to trust to go make runs? It's a big ask. It's a big ask, dude. So, everybody walk around with a little more joy today. Smile because it's Cancun in summer, everybody. And this whirlwind saga for the year comes to an end.